Started off as a PG podcast, but then Devin just kept on dropping shits and fucks, and now...
That's right. We are live.
The ghost faced himself, Brandon Panev.
This isn't like the start of last season when it was just, it looked like the Canucks were just a beer league team not playing defense at all. And just before Chris goes, no, I'm kidding, Chris, you can actually go now.
No, hold on.
Oh, we had to give more time for coming on late. So.
I still had, hold on. All right. Chris, go, and then I got something else to say at the end.
So, an elf and a midget in 2 back-to-back games. Yeah, he's definitely on a friendship tour for sure.
Saying, oh yeah, I'm okay with him being, the 6'7" defenseman. No! He is a AHL defenseman right now.
Look, Shonky, don't mind Devin, okay? We all struggle with Devin, so you know.
Well, hello there, everyone. Welcome to the Shifts and Pucks podcast, evening edition. Of course, you can follow us on Twitter at Shifts and Pucks, Facebook.com, Shifts and Pucks, YouTube.com, Shifts and Pucks, Twitch.com, Shifts and Pucks. Subscribe wherever you get your audio, as well as in the Area 51 Sports Network. So let me preface this. Christmas Eve was sort of the beginning of the end of April for hockey. We got our playoffs all set, and then we come to Christmas, and then there's a present that's not quite under the Christmas tree because we got to wait for it because Santa was a little late, delivery was a little late, and then on May the 4th to 15th, the present arrived. The Battle of Alberta, for the first time in 31 years, when Silence of the Lambs was a popular movie, when Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves was a popular movie, when I don't think any
Devin was in diapers.
Yes, some of you were not even alive for this event. It's happening, but it's here, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the second round. Already controversy has hit the playoffs as that has begun. Good. Hello, Tyler. How are you?
I am doing very well. Nice to see you all. Just got back from a trip to the Fraser Valley last week. It feels great to be getting out of town on a more regular basis. Did a little bit of work-related things down in that area and some golfing as well. So it was great. A little rainy. Also a little sad to see some of the destruction that occurred from last fall there with the flooding and the mudslides, and even 6 months after the fact, how much work is still to be done down there to get life back to normal. So it was nice to get away for a bit and be back on with you fellas now.
Chris, you are back in Calgary.
No, not quite.
Chris, where did you go?
We lost. No, there he is.
I don't know what's going on with my internet ever since we went live. It's been getting I don't know, but apparently I have a connection now. So, hello, Kevin.
And where are you? Where are you? We're trying to figure this out.
So I'm currently in Revelstoke for the 3rd week in a row.
Oh, okay. You're not in Calgary. Sorry, but
I will be this upcoming weekend.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yes. Cool. Well, welcome. Revelstoke. The nice.
Yeah, I messaged Chris on Sunday and told him that he left the province too early, and he responds with, "Oh, I'm in town next weekend."
Well, I guess we know where to find you guys.
Yeah.
Stephen, get him a table.
Yeah, and
although
I was just going to say, Revelstoke, nice little town. I got to visit there last summer myself.
Yeah, it is definitely a nice little town. But you'll have to guess whether we'll be at the Pig and Duke or the Royal Exchange. That's the question mark now.
Yeah.
No, it'll be the Pig.
We're trying to allow.
We're obligated to say that.
I don't think you're allowed to go anywhere else.
No.
Well, the Royal Exchange is part of the Pig and Duke family, though.
Banished to Siberia if we go somewhere else.
Sean, in Alberta right now.
Yes. Yesterday, the whole city kind of felt a little hungover.
Yeah.
Which I think most of them were after Sunday. And Matthew Tkachuk is pulling U-turns in the middle of busy streets, and it's kind of crazy.
That and the Red Mile is officially.
Yes, the Red Mile is officially back. We'll finish that sentence for.
Yeah, wasn't that just awesome to see that site on the telecast there the other night, and just with how everything's been the last couple of years to be able to see something like that. I mean, we were used to seeing this in Toronto with Maple Leaf Square / Jurassic Park, and now in Calgary. I mean, what a moment that was. I don't know if we want to just dive right into it. Kev,
yeah, that's good.
Thoughts on Game 7. I know you and Devin obviously had talked about that earlier today, but that was edge of your seat stuff there in the overtime. I mean, Ottinger was trending hard on Twitter, and just feel terrible for him. I mean, he stood on his head, the Conn Smythe level performance in the series, and falls short. Dallas not able to get the W there. And then from the other side of it, Johnny Gaudreau, there's a guy that's worn a lot of the blame for past playoff failures with the Calgary Flames. Gets the A on the shirt for that game with Chris Tanev out, and maybe a little extra jump in his stride from that. Who knows? But beautiful goal, short side high to end the series and set up that Battle of Alberta that many of us casual watchers have been hoping for.
It's Calgary, Tyler. So you had just a little more giddy up.
Yeah.
I'll tell you. I said this to Devin. I'll say this again. Like, it just at 2-1, I was like, this is not our night. Especially when Nemeskov scored right after, I was like, this is not our night. And then got it to overtime, and Gaudreau gets that beautiful setup, perfect shot. I went, this is ridiculous. Ottinger makes a save. I'm like, this is seriously ridiculous. And then when Hannafin had the chance, and they had like the 4 cracks there just before Gaudreau scored, this is literally this is a piece of plywood is covered the entire net. Like,
the heart was just racing. It was 5 alarm save, 5 alarm save, 5 alarm save. I'm like, how are they not going to, like, how is this happening?
This was
and I'm not even an invested fan. I was like, what is going on?
Yeah. That's when you know it's good playoff hockey, when you, like, even as a person who doesn't have a horse in the race, was still on the edge of my seat, like heart racing.
Yeah.
But to steal a line from 32 Thoughts, the right team won that series, but either way, both goalies did not deserve to lose.
Yeah.
That was one of the greatest goaltending performances I have truly ever seen.
Yeah, Kelly Rudy was talking about that, man. He's put on a few good goaltending performances himself back in his career in the playoffs, and that was that was something.
Go ahead, Sean. Sorry,
I was going to say, I'll give Chris a pass. It's not because it's Calgary again. It's truck wagons in the race.
There you go. Yeah, that's right.
Oh God, we're gonna have all these Calgaryisms. I actually
have all of them.
It's funny the Canucks fan is just focused so much on all the Calgaryisms, and I'm like, what? The Chuck? What?
The Flames fan in Vancouver and the Canucks fan in Calgary.
That's right.
And even though Sean was born in Ontario, he's pretty much a tried and true Calgarian. So
yes.
But he's a Canuck fan. We can't get him to be a BC Lions fan, unfortunately. So.
But yeah, what a great performance from Ottinger for sure, and what a great. And you're right, Tyler. The crowd, it was great to see. Battle of Alberta happening here. Maybe we'll start with Sean and maybe just big picture this. And Daryl Sutter talked about it a little bit today. I mean, he said no matter if you're a Flames fan or an Oilers fan, this is great, and everything. In big picture, what Alberta has been through the last couple of years, what do you think this actually means?
Well, it's for the hospitality industry, period. It's huge.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna have fans traveling up and down the QE2. They're gonna fight in Red Deer. Whoever wins gets the Burger Baron in Red Deer, or the Donut Mill. I don't know. One of those.
Somewhere on Gasoline Alley.
It's just, man, I was there. I was honestly there. I was at the Pig and Duke on Friday for Game 6, and it was absolutely jam-packed. my reservation got missed, but luckily, thanks to Steven and Joe, we were able to get seats at the bar, and it was fantastic. Like it, I wish honestly, I wish the Flames had won in game 6, just to see the explosion there. But winning a game 7 in overtime is still pretty fucking special, and to see what the red lot looked like, and the red mile, and just it's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome for all the hospitality, the restaurants, the pubs. It's going to be huge.
To simply put it, this is going to be the rising water. Like, this series is going to be the rising water that lifts all boats for the hospitality industry.
So someone made a joke that all the money you lost during the pandemic, you're going to make up in the next 2 weeks. It's a bit of a hyperbole, but it's good. They're gonna do really well in this. It's just great. Like, I may hate the hockey team because I am a Canucks fan, but for the city, for both cities, honestly, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, and then of course now this begs the question for the casual watcher, like most of us that are here, you know, who are you cheering for? And we were having this talk before we came on. I'm not cheering for one team or the other. I like Calgary's chances slightly over Edmonton, but what I'm hoping to see as an outcome is just a really hard-fought 7-game series. And really, both teams went through that already in the first round, so hopefully there's still quite a lot of gas in the tank. And if they need a boost, certainly the everything that surrounds an interprovincial playoff rivalry like this will provide some giddy up that Sean was just talking about earlier. So, no, we're just hoping it's a very feisty, long series, and we get a full value for it. And I always have to caution against the big hype that surrounds something like this. But it should live up to the hype, shouldn't it? But I mean, even in recent years in regular season, Saturday night, those two get together. It's been some fireworks, and now you throw the Stanley Cup into the equation here, and yeah, it should be awesome.
Swap out Klingberg and put in Cassian, and there you go.
Yeah.
If I don't have a goalie fight in this series, I'll be upset.
And Markey is not afraid of that. I think he's actively has gone to center ice a couple of times when it's gotten a little feisty.
Yeah.
So.
We
saw
that with the Canucks. He's got fire in him. When he can hold it in for a while, but if he cracks, boy, yeah, that could be something.
And we all know Mike Smith isn't afraid.
That's right.
Well, I thought that Zach Kassian was able to take a lot of liberties, partially because of officiating, but also partially because the Kings defense just would not stop him from swinging his stick. God knows everywhere in that series. And if he swings his stick at Markstrom, Markstrom will swing back.
Oh, yeah.
He will
probably to the back of the knee.
Yeah,
and then Lucic will pile on, and then all hell will break loose, and everyone will cheer.
Pray
for Alberta line, bro.
Pray for the officials. They got their hands full with this one.
Yeah, I think one of the things on a serious note here, not that we're not being serious, but maybe I'll backtrack. I think the other night, the nice thing about this series, and I think for the economic part of it, Friday, it's a long weekend. Friday in Calgary, it's at a ridiculous time. Granted, 8:30. Saturday or Sunday in Edmonton. Monday long weekend. You know that there's going to be travel to and fro. You know the Oiler fans are going to come down to Calgary, and you know the Flame fans are going to head up to Edmonton. Yeah. That's huge as well. I think for as Dan says, praise Scorch for allowing this to happen. So I think that's well too. But I think the team, one of the themes, I think we talked about Cassian and goalie fights and all of that. The team that is able to contain their emotion the most, I think, will be the winner of the series. I think that is this is so different. This isn't there's playoffs, and then let me just put my old Flames hat on for a second here. this is the Flames and Canucks. There's a rivalry, but it's the Flames and Oilers. It's way more personal, way more. Just
a civic pride thing.
Thou shalt not lose to Calgary. Thou shalt not lose to Edmonton in anything.
Yeah.
Anything.
Yeah.
I think the one that contains the emotions the most will win the series.
Do you know how kids learn the ABCs in Edmonton?
Anybody but Calgary.
Anybody but Calgary.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So to go off of what Tyler was saying, like I don't have a dog in this fight. I want an entertaining series. If I'm being honest, my betting money is probably on Calgary, but really I just want them to beat the shit out of each other because ultimately my playoff pool is riding on Colorado. So I want them to weaken each other so that way whoever makes it to whoever plays Colorado, because yes, I'm calling Colorado beating St. Louis. That's ultimately what I'm hoping for. And Kevin, it might be a ridiculous start time for the locals, and I do sympathize with that. But I personally am thankful because Hannah and I will be driving to Calgary on Friday, and we'll be arriving somewhere in between 6 and 7. So a later start, all fine by me.
Yeah, and the start time, just so people get the full understanding as to what we're referring to, the schedule for Friday, it's Game 2 of the Rangers and the Hurricanes, 8 o'clock Eastern Time. ESPN has both games on Friday, and then the Flames and Oilers about 10:45 Eastern Time, 8:45 Mountain Time. So that's very, very late start. I'm going to assume that was ESPN's request to have it that way. Probably the Rogers people not jazzed for trying to capture some Eastern time zone watchers to this thing that it's starting so late. But yes, the fans will be well gassed up, so to speak, ready to go for Game 2.
They'll have a full belly from dinner, and they'll probably be 2 or 3 drinks deep by the time the game starts.
That's right.
It's long. It's the Friday of a long weekend. I don't think that the extra half hour is really going to change too much of the viewership. Honestly,
No. And I guess the big story coming out from Calgary's perspective that we know a lot about as well, as we are Tanev-ologists. Chris Tanev did not play Game 7. Did not look good for Game 6. I said in the chat, I had to be honest. I was like, I don't know if we're going to see Tanev in this entire series. That was just my hunch, but lo and behold, I'm wrong again. And Chris Tanev is out in non-contact jersey.
It was contact jersey.
Or sorry, contact jersey.
Yes.
Sorry, playing with Oliver Shillington, like all is right in the world.
We almost have to call her producer Heidi, associate producer Heidi. We gotta give her a name.
Yeah,
pointing that out to us earlier today. Thanks for that.
Yeah. If he's playing, I do give the Flames a better chance. Is he 100%? That's a wonderful question. I don't think anyone in the playoffs is 100%, but it is a difference.
Just like Leon, he'll probably be hopped up on painkillers.
Mm-hmm.
That's the other thing.
I'm glad you brought that up. Glad you brought that up, Chris, because that extra day to have the series not start tonight but start tomorrow night, that's huge for Edmonton in particular. If that gives Draisaitl a chance to recuperate here.
Yeah,
well, it's both. It's both Tanev and Draisaitl on both sides are getting an extra day here.
With no disrespect to Tanev, because we all love Tanny. I mean, Edmonton can't function without Draisaitl. I mean, they to have him not play.
I'll make the controversial comment.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Flames. It's tougher for the Flames without Tanev than the Oilers without Draisaitl, because you have scoring depth in Edmonton. If you need it, Zach Hyman is there. If you need it, Kyler Yamamoto is there. They will find. They have the scoring depth. In Calgary, without Chris Tanev, that defense doesn't complete itself the same way there. I think Tanev is a bigger, not like listen, of course Draisaitl is a better player than Chris Tanev, but just in terms of roster construction, position construction, Tanev is a bigger loss than Draisaitl for what Tanev does. because scoring there is scoring depth on Edmonton that you can fill that in other ways.
Well, let's tip
controversial.
Yeah, it's not. I don't think that's a controversial way to look at it. It's the other side of the coin, really.
Yeah.
I guess there's a good chance for us to tip our cap to both teams. Overcoming adversity and look, give them credit. It's a lot. It can be both a blessing and a curse to be having a Game 7 on home ice, and both those teams got it done. In Edmonton's case, coming from behind in the series in Game 6 without Darnell Nurse to win on the road. Great performance from Connor McDavid there. And then, of course, carrying that forward into Game 7. And I'll just go off very quickly here, Kevin. I mean, I was so impressed with the Oilers in Game 7 is how they really took the game to the Kings. Often Game 7s can have a very tentative start, and there was none of that with the Oilers. I mean, Connor was throwing a big hit the first shift, really got everybody going. The building was going. Took a long time to get a goal, but the Oilers were just all over it all game long. And once they broke through, I think everybody watching could feel like they weren't going to lose that game on Saturday night. And then in the case of the Flames, I mean, kind of a different feel to that game, but to break through there after, ending up in a Game 7 in overtime at home when most of the prognosticators out there, including myself, felt like Calgary was going to win that series quite easily. So they're battle tested here going up against each other. And the only question is now, will the team that emerge have anything left for the next round? Well, I guess we'll find out in a couple of weeks here.
Go ahead, Sean.
But it's just going to, yeah, I agree with what Tyler said in terms of the impressive effort from the Oilers in Game 7 there, to just take it to them. Like Quick played really well and was able to keep the Kings in it, but the Oilers dominated most of that game. So
yeah, I like Game 6. Tyler, you took some heat for your tweet in Game 6, but you were right. In the sense of, Connor McDavid took another step. In
that period, I mean, he scored earlier in the game, and he's been having a really solid series all around, despite, he only had 4 goals in the series, and 2 were in Game 7? One was in Game 6, one was earlier in the series, and they win the series, and he was a major factor because he was, that's what we've been waiting to see. One, improvement in some of the areas of his game defensively, but not just that. Showing up when it matters the most and just dragging the team with him to victory. And, it's not like he's been terrible in past playoffs, but that part, I think, for me was lacking a little bit. And right when they really needed him to get the job done after they had a lead in Game 6, he was just buzzing, and then finally sets up that one for Tyson Barrie, and then he was very crafty with the net pulled at the other end to get not only gain control of the puck and not have things turn into the fire drill that you often see in the 6-on-5 at the end of the game, but also a nice play to advance the puck to Evander Kane and set up the empty netter there to seal the Game 6 win. So those are all the things you're hoping to see out of not just your best player, but in this case the captain of their team as well. And that certainly was a confidence boost, I think, for all of them going into Game 7.
I can't remember if it was on the broadcast or during the highlight package on Central afterwards, but I do remember someone mentioning that McDavid had multi-point games in 6 out of the 7 games. So, yeah, that just kind of adds to Tyler's point.
Yeah.
I just want to bring up here something from that Dylan said. Yes, I was a little disappointed in the beginning of the round 1. But how round 1 ended with the amount of Game 7s we had, and we got 2 Game 7 overtimes. It's not much better than that.
No, for sure. No, it was a really interesting weekend of hockey for sure.
Not just 5 of the 8 going to 7 games, but on Saturday, of course, the Hockey Night in Canada, traditional, Saturday night's the night for watching hockey in this country. You had 2 Canadian teams as well.
Yep.
Playing in Game 7, so it was just great all around.
Yeah. I want to ask a question that may seem a little silly, but this has just sort of been my observation. I am feeling, honestly, that the Flames fan base is taking the Oilers a little too lightly.
Well, I don't know. It's always going to be a level of confidence when you're talking about.
Yeah, but though I put on my old age hat here. The Oilers have won, Oilers have won 5 of the 6 series. Their argument is the only reason you won the other one is because we put the puck in our own net. I think there's some history revisionists here that I'd like to remind them of. And one of them.
So how much of that noise is coming from people that are barely able to remember 1986?
Yeah. Well, if you love Mark Messier, don't watch that series and what Joel Otto did to him, because Joel Otto kicked the crap out of Mark Messier. No one in Edmonton loves to hear that, but Joel Otto get in and beat the shit out of Mark Messier.
We're really going to need to get Graham on at some point.
He did.
I mean, Joel Otto also kicks pucks into the net like it's soccer. So
well, exactly. But that's fine. But Badger Bob Johnson, God rest his soul, he constructed a game plan in Cliff Fletcher with all the trades that year. Brought in Joe Mullen, brought in John Tonelli, brought in Nick Fotiu. That guy, Nick. Let me bring a little history up here to you younger folks. Nick Fotiu, the Edmonton Oilers beat up the Calgary Flames. Like not only on the scoreboard, but physically, they would just kick the crap even in fights. When Nick Fotiu showed up, that all changed. The Edmonton Oilers were not able to run around the way that they were over the years. When Fotiu showed up, much, much different conversation. And Joel Otto matched up with Mark Messier. He just had the size. Messier would bowl people over, and Otto stood up to him. But anyway, my point being is that the Oilers have the history here. I just wonder, it's easy to laugh at Mike Smith, but you've got Connor McDavid, one of the best players in the game, and I think he's taking his game to another level. Jay Woodcroft, Tyler, you've brought this up as well. He's brought a sense of calm into that organization, sort of that aw shucks attitude, but he's brought some structure. They've bought into the system.
Yeah, he just doesn't show any cracks in the armor when he's in front of the media. I mean, let's give him a few more years and losses and frustration, and eventually with coaches the cracks start to show. But after Game 5 and the way that they lost, kind of a brutal goal to give up in overtime, the way that all occurred with the turnover at center ice and Adrian Kempe blowing past McDavid and Duncan Keith. He came out and sort of restored calm to the situation. And I'm always looking at that, not just from the coach, but from the veteran players on the team or the leadership group of the team. If because you could see it in their body language, whether the concern is there or not. And I didn't sense any of that from them. And they were able to recover and win the series with wins in Game 6 and 7. And it was striking to me with Woodcroft because it just seems like with the past few coaches that the Oilers have had, Tippett, McClellan before that, it just never really seemed like they could put on that calm, stable facade as well as Jay seems to have been able to do here in this past series with the Kings.
Which is interesting considering those are more tenured, longer-term NHL coaches, whereas this is his first real crack at the big league.
Yeah, a couple of older school coaches. I don't know enough about Jay Woodcroft to say whether he's different than the old school, but he's maybe he's a better fit for the kind of the where this team is at in terms of their sort of journey through their careers.
I feel like style of play, he's a little more old school, but I think communication wise, he's a little more new school.
Yeah, that's probably a good
way to put it. Does history really fucking matter? Especially when it's over 30 years ago?
No.
It doesn't.
I mean, it's a discussion point, but it's not.
I just feel like my point is I'm not taking the Oilers as lightly as I feel like that there's a lot of fans. This is easy. We're done in 6. See you later. I just don't expect that. I just don't think the Oilers are going to go down fighting.
I love
lightly.
Done in 6 as if that's easy.
Yeah, the caution with the Oilers is that they had a lot of kind of baggage from last year and then going back before that in the bubble and playoff misses and a lot of underachievement. and that's been more of a story and more of a thing dogging the core of that team. So I feel like there's more weight that came off the shoulders with their win on Saturday than with the Flames, where, yeah, they were expected to beat the Stars, but it didn't seem like there was as much negative history that they were trying to shake off.
I think there's a lot of similarities between the Oilers and the Maple Leafs in that regard. That sort of between the ears sort of mental struggle.
Yeah, so now with Edmonton, I would say, I mean, they, both teams are riding big confidence going into the series, obviously. But I mean, I think for Edmonton, from where they started going into the playoffs to now, I think the jump in confidence is much greater than it probably is for the Flames.
Well, for Daryl, though, I think as I bring out my Kool-Aid, Sean, here's the Kool-Aid. The Kool-Aid here. My Southern Kool-Aid.
They're not paying for that here. But.
No, I know, exactly. No, but I'm just saying that, Daryl brought a sense of calm. I think the reality is Daryl never told us anything different than it would be a 7-game series.
Yeah.
I think there were some people that thought that we have a couple of comments in here. Jeremiah, welcome, Jeremiah, by the way. Hit that subscribe button as I do my sales pitch. Kings had no Doughty and no Arvidsson. Kings win that series in 6 if they have those guys. There's a belief that this was an undermanned, very poor LA Kings team that the Oilers should not have taken the 7. And I think there are people that feel that the same way about the Flames and the Stars, but we just talked about Jake Ottinger too.
Yeah, it's a fair thing to bring up. I mean, those are key pieces that the Kings are missing, and they still got to 7 games. But, if you have them there, there's how do all the other games go? The complexion of the series may be different, especially with Doughty, because he's such a presence, and the way that he plays, a bit of, with edge and everything. So yes, it's a valid point, but no certainty there that the Kings would win, I would say.
Sean, you were going to say something.
I was just going to say that not having Doughty in that series was such a shame.
Yeah.
Like, it just would have been so good for entertainment.
Well, I mean, he adds to that marquee value, right? I mean, he's
marquee value when he doesn't know when to shut up. So.
I mean, it's no like Doughty Kachuk level, but I'm sure Doughty would have found someone in Edmonton to chastise.
Yeah. Doughty Kane would have been a feud.
Yeah.
Well, and imagine if LA got through playing Calgary.
Oh my gosh. That would have.
I'd still take Battle of Alberta over that, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the other option was like Dallas, Edmonton, and we're like, we don't need to go back to the 90s. That was.
I know. I was thinking.
We had enough of those in the late 90s and early 2000s. Thank you very much.
They were great, but let's leave that in the past. Thanks.
Yeah.
The irony, considering that this is the 8th time that the Flames and Oilers have played each other in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But but it's the first time in 31 years.
Yeah. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Well, who better to broadcast the series than Chris Cuthbert? He did the last one.
He did do
Still
the last
going.
one.
God bless Chris.
He doesn't look that much different than 1991, to be honest with you. He looks the same.
Yeah.
In that aspect, I feel a little bit bad for Hart Ryan since he's had such a good run with especially Oilers broadcasts this season. But yeah, like Tyler brought up, Chris Cuthbert, he deserves it.
Well, and of course, Craig Simpson was part of the Oilers back there towards the end of their run, and so both of them will bring great perspective to this matchup. Although it was a very long time ago when those two had something to do with it before.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm also sad for Rick Ball. Rick Ball did such a fantastic job to calling the Calgary series as well. Would have been nice to see him.
I think Rick's been well regarded within the biz for a long time now, but for this to go 7 games and just how great the hockey was with the Flames and Stars and getting a Game 7 overtime call with all the eyes watching there and stuff, I hope next year he gets a bigger role.
Yeah,
boy, because I've always admired Rick greatly, but it just seems like he always has the emotion correct for what's going on out there, and doesn't make very many mistakes, and has a great voice. And even though very synonymous with the Flames, doesn't come across as a homer whatsoever. So, hopefully next year we'll get to see Rick doing some more national games. I've always enjoyed hearing his call when he got to do some Canuck games here the odd time the last couple of years.
Well, I was about to say, I think that's where it comes from. He came from out of market to be a play-by-play guy, and I think that's he what makes him great about that is he's able to express the right energy at the right time, so he doesn't come across as just like someone from out of market who doesn't understand it.
Yeah,
some can, and he doesn't come across as a over the top homer.
Yeah,
yeah, for sure. It's, and I don't know if we're going to see a lot of Gene Principe, as Jeremiah pointed out. Gene Principe cut his hair. Right, it would be nice to see Ryan Leslie and Gene Principe do some little friendly rivalry.
What the hell is Gene thinking? Like that?
Why now?
I didn't know that.
I think he did it for charity. I think he did
do it for charity a while back.
My apologies. Because don't.
But I thought that the way that Jeremiah had said that, it made it sound like it happened just in the last couple of days.
No. He recently. No, it was a while ago. He did that. Okay. Yeah, and I think there's
no impact on this. On no impact.
Because I was gonna say, you do that during the playoffs. That's like a hockey sin to cut hair during.
I know.
Oh, you want? Okay, then apparently the Flames are doing that because they go to the barbershop in my neighborhood, and they were all there yesterday, and even Brady was there today.
Wow. Oh, Brady! Yes.
Yes.
Brady's going to be an added element. Who do you think is going to get the largest amount of boos in the Saddle Dome from the Oilers? Who's the
Kane?
I would say by default probably Kane. I don't know. I mean,
unless Cassian does something to Kachuk, then that might be the
Kane until someone else does something slightly dirty.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Kane by default, but if someone does something to instigate Flames fans, then they will take the blame.
Yeah.
And I think it would be fair to say, maybe if we're talking the flip situation in Edmonton, I'd probably say Lucic, just because it would be, revenge of the Tuscan Raider.
No, I think it'll be Kachuk.
Yeah, it'll be Chucky as well.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Although I wouldn't. Yeah, it'll be Kachuk. I was like, I wouldn't put it past.
It's gotta be. It's gotta
Anderson or Mangiapane, but it'll be Kachuk.
Yeah, to me, it's Kane, Cassian, Smith, and Keith. I think are the other. I think Keith might get a few boos. Smith will get a few boos. Kachuk.
I think a lot of it depends on just the play, right, and how it goes and all that. Did we ever think it would have been John Klingberg last season, last series?
No.
Nope.
I forgot to bring that guy up to Devin earlier.
Oh God! I just hope one or two players on each team grab their black hats and go at it, because I want to see this just go off the rails, please. I want old school 80s line brawl hockey. Let's go.
Team Chaos.
Yes.
Who does that benefit, though? Like, if it goes to Chaos, who does that benefit?
The people who don't have a horse in the game.
Yeah. All you think about is yourself.
The fans, Kevin.
Now you're getting it.
No, it's the Flames. They're a bigger team. They're a bigger team. They're a more physical team, and they've got players who can fight through that more than the Oilers can, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think just I don't know what else to say about the series other than, I'm looking forward to Wednesday.
Let's fucking go.
Let's fucking go. Like, honestly, it's
LFG.
Yeah. Yeah, Devin and I did a whole game plan breakdown. I don't think we need to do that too much. But the media part is going to be interesting. I do want Eric Francis to ask Leon Draisaitl why he is so pissy. I think that would be fantastic. Can that happen, please?
Oh, man, if Eric Francis can do that, that redeems a lot.
If he can find a way to be the heel, yes, that'll give him some minor points to dig himself out of the hated hole that he is in.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is going to be a lot. This is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to recap the games after every game. We'll probably have fireside chat. I do think we're going to get. We hope to get some Oiler perspective on this, and yeah.
Well, just to bring this all full circle back to Flames fans and Oilers fans traveling up and down the QE2, friend of the show, Graham Mosman, is taking his radio show, the 2 to 6 thing, on Chuck 92 in Edmonton, on the road for Friday's game. He's coming down to Calgary, and he's going to be doing stupid video stuff. He's going to have a good time.
Is there going to be someone back in 2000? Remember back in 2004 when the Red Wings were in Calgary at the hotel downtown that they hire a bus
oh my God, wasn't that
to do a honk of the horn? Is that going to happen?
Oh man, I won't be surprised if it does.
I can see both, someone in both, because you would think in Cal. It's an interesting thing. Are they?
For someone who wasn't there when that happened, can you recap that for me?
Well, yeah, that was what round
2, game 3. Detroit comes to town. It's 6 a.m. Bus drives up to the team hotel and just honks it on. Yeah.
Are we? Is it kosher to give score updates here on this?
Absolutely. I think the Blues are up 1-0. I heard.
Yes, Ryan O'Reilly with the lone goal there. They're after one period of play in game 1, Blues and Avalanche.
Yeah.
Man,
by the way,
no offense to the Blues, though. I want Colorado to get through there because the storylines in both matchups with the Flames or Oilers is there a lot more. You've got McKinnon versus McDavid, or you've got 2019 rehash in the conference final.
It is there are good storylines. There are for sure. I'm not picking Colorado though, but that's me, and I'm probably one of the few. But
hold on, you're taking St. Louis to win that series?
Yep, I am.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, Colorado is, they're another team here that has a hump to try and get over. That second round's been a real problem for them, despite being a favorite here for quite a number of years. So yeah, for me, I would say I'm favoring Colorado over St. Louis, but not definitively. Show me that you can get over this hump and do it quickly too, because then you might encounter a team that's a little depleted and worn out.
Yeah, if you can do that in 5 or 6, for sure. But to Kevin's point, like if I'm Berube, that's what I'm leaning into is, hey, these guys haven't made it past the second round. Let's give them hell.
Yeah, the pressure is on them. They're the higher seeded team. And yeah, exactly. I mean, there isn't a pressure on the Blues here whatsoever.
The Avs beat up on the Blues a little bit last playoffs, but the Blues blue line wasn't healthy. It's healthy this year. It's going to be a really good series. And just before we move on from the Flames and Oilers, I'll go on the record, unlike Kevin, and say I think it's going to be Oilers in 7. I think this will be a series we look back on in Connor McDavid's career as the one that just sort of took him to the next level, just because of how all the eyes are here. And I think he has taken his game to the next level, and I think he'll steal a couple games on his own, and I think that'll be the difference.
It's not just taking his game on the ice to another level, but off the ice when he's in front of the cameras. There's a different level of composure I'm seeing. He's still not a guy of many words and is very kind of one face about it, but even when they've lost games, there's just a more composed feel to the press conference. Just listening to him in the past, I felt like there was times he would get a little dismissive about some of the line of questioning, but I didn't sense that in this series against LA. It seems like that part of his game off the ice has improved as well, and that has a big effect with the rest of the guys.
Yeah, I've already made the bold prediction that I think all 4 of these series are going 7. That's my bold prediction.
That is so amazing.
Yeah, I think all of them are going 7, and it wouldn't surprise me if the Oilers win. That's what I'll say. It's just Connor has taken, and I've been one that's been on lean on Draisaitl, but I have to say he's taken his game to another level too. He's found a little bit of that next level, that next step. He's starting to take responsibility for his play, starting to show some leadership. That's the other one too. I think he's going to be don't dismiss him in this, even though he's not at 100%. He's still going to be a factor as well. They worry me because yeah. But
next topic.
Yeah, I think. Well,
I kind of derailed the agenda right away too.
I could wax poetic about all that series all for 2 hours, but I think it's time to give the other series a little bit more airtime.
Let's as Dylan put out here.
I had already said my betting money is on Calgary.
Yeah. And I think Tyler. I think 3 of us said Calgary, kind of, and Sean is with Edmonton.
I'm going Flames at 7.
Yeah. This blends a little bit. We'll touch on the Leafs here. I noticed Tyler retweeted this, and I talked to Devin about this. Sean and I had the conversation on Sunday about the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I think just to touch on this a little bit, they had their end of season media availability today. They announced that Dubas and Keefe are coming back. They, other than Mitch Martin, and all the best of Mitch Martin, very difficult situation going through that carjacking. You don't want to see that. But maybe I'll ask Tyler this first, because Ken Campbell retweeted this. Basically, the tweet is, as much as there's pressure to put on changes in Toronto, there isn't pressure to put on changes in Toronto because they're already a successful franchise. They're already on the top of the media food chain here in Canada, and maybe a little bit in the States, but the NHL. I feel like maybe Tyler has a different perspective than us and what should happen in Toronto. So maybe I'll let you chime, and I'm just basing this on your tweets. Yeah. Do you feel that there needs to be major changes in Toronto?
Well, not major in terms of quantity, but I think the core is missing something. They once again showed in the series that the killer instinct wasn't there when they had a chance to put a team away. So there has to be a bit of a roster change in some fashion to try and to change that. I was talking with one of my buddies down south this weekend about this. There inevitably is always going to be people looking for heads to roll after something like this happens. But you have to wonder, are you going to bring in something that's better? I'm not the biggest Kyle Dubas fan, but he and Brendan Shanahan have still put together a really solid team that is making the playoffs and has a great chance theoretically when they go into it. And I thought they still put up a pretty solid performance against a strong team. The part that I don't like about all the narratives is, and there's a lot of the media apologists that are making this point, is they say, well, they lost to the 2-time defending champs. Like, no, you're the Toronto Maple Leafs. You're the wealthiest franchise. Yes, there's a salary cap, but the standard shouldn't be set at the level like, okay, well, we can live with a loss against the team that won the Stanley Cup the last 2 years. No, I think they got to be aiming higher than that, especially being that they're the Toronto Maple Leafs. So that part I'm kind of bothered with, but the idea that they have to make big changes to management or coaching, I mean, they just changed coaches. I mean, what was it, 3 years ago now? It wasn't really that long ago that they brought in Sheldon Keefe, and And like I was saying earlier, I mean, I think the management still put together a pretty solid team here. And if you bring in a new group, they're not going to be, given the mandate to blow the thing up. The people that, I don't know if it comes from Larry Tannenbaum or who at the MLSE that oversees Brendan Shanahan, but clearly there's nobody applying pressure from above to make big changes to the front office.
Well, why does it, just because they lose in the first round, why do they need to make big sweeping changes?
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be, I think, changes, right? They didn't win. They're not holding the trophy at the end here. So, yeah. But the idea that they need to blow the whole thing up because these guys are, soft or something to that effect. Like, no, I mean that'd be pretty hasty, I think.
It's not just the fact that like they lost the first round again, it's the matter of how they lost. And that's kind of a big context as to why they're not going to make any major changes this offseason, because they felt like they didn't have like a stereotypical Maple Leafs past like late choke like they did against the Bruins or like last year against the Habs. Like they actually took the defending Stanley Cup champs to Game 7 and in a competitive 1-goal game. So yeah, I agree that big sweeping changes aren't necessarily needed. It's just trying to find a way for convincing, especially those core players, to get past that mental struggle that is probably playing in their heads.
And then the other thing I look at is like it's not like the top players didn't show up, right? And that was a big knock on this team going into these playoffs. Marner did not show up in the last few playoffs. Mm-hmm. He showed up in this one.
Yep.
Matthews showed up. Riley showed up. Campbell played really well. And that's a big question there. What do they do with him? But I think there's tweaks and there's changes that they might need to do. But that doesn't mean that it's a bad team that needs to be blown up.
No, I think it needs to be shaken up to some extent.
And
like, tweaks might not be tweaks around the edges might not be enough. Tweaks, more towards the core, maybe.
I think it's time to rethink that blue line. I think it's time to rethink how you build that bottom six. As much as I say that I think the Leafs shifting more towards a top 9 and a fourth line, just the way the Leafs salary structure is, I think it's basically a top 6 and a bottom 6. So I think if they don't do anything and they just run this back and it is tweaks around the edges, I think there might be issues there. But that doesn't mean it's not. It doesn't mean that. Yeah, it doesn't mean. For me, I look at this and go, I don't think Keefe did anything wrong. I don't think Dubas did anything wrong this year. I think there's questions on some of the moves he's made in the past, but I don't think this year was one of them. And I think there's still room for improvement from within. I know there's a lot of people saying they don't really have much, but they got. Abruzzese, and they've got Nick Robertson coming up front. I think it's time for Sandin and Liljegren to get a bigger look up on the blue line, and that'll open up some more cap space for them to build up some depth up front. But I do wonder if there is a big move that Dubas is going to have to pull this offseason and will pull this offseason.
I would think. I think it's kind of stating the obvious here that if there were to be such a shakeup of the core, that William Nylander is the most likely guy that gets moved, and then it does beg the question: what comes back the other way? How does that fit with their salary structure, chemistry, all those kinds of things? It's not an easy job to make that kind of move, obviously, but like I say, to tweak around the edges and just say, well, it was Tampa Bay. We're just going to try again. I mean, everybody's trying to get better all the time. That might not be enough of an improvement, just a tweak around the edge. So, they'll be taking the coming weeks here to strategize for the draft and free agency. But they got to really think hard about what kind of a change they want to make.
Well, it's tough too because sorry to Sean, and just to jump in here quickly, because you're in a very interesting situation because you did better. You didn't win. So how do you how Kyle Dubas evaluates this team, I think is really important because you could do one thing. You could either one different move, like either not doing something or doing something, can topple this the wrong way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead, Sean. Sorry.
Well, I was just saying, what moves are you making if you're demanding sweeping front office changes? Who's out there that makes sense?
Well, there's someone that's calling for Barry Trotz. I don't think that happened.
I would say if like coaches, I think there's more options out there, but I still think I don't think they were out coached in that series. Mm-hmm. So I don't think it's a Keefe issue. And if you're gonna fire Dubas, guess what? I just don't think it's time. If they can't get past next round, then next year, even if it is again a quote unquote moral victory, which is kind of the what we're kind of hearing that tone from the franchise this year, that's not good enough. And I do think how they went out and this year plays a huge way in how you evaluate things, because it's not like they blew a 3-1 lead and lost in game 7 to Montreal like last year.
They did blow a 3-2. They blew a 3-2 series lead. They blew a 3-2 lead in game 6. That's still the other there. So there is a technical blown lead, but you're right. It wasn't Montreal who's picking first in this year's draft. That's very fair. Just to toss this from this is interesting, because we've talked a little bit about Vancouver media, and if this happened, Vancouver was out 5 straight first rounds, and they were playing this 2-time Stanley Cup champion Tampa Bay Lightning and lost. How would this media handle that narrative compared to what we saw in Toronto?
I'm sure very well with lots of con. Yeah.
I'm going to get to that question, but I just want to quickly chime in on the last topic, because I think I'm pretty sure it was Elliot Friedman who made the comment that Toronto needs more like piss and vinegar in their top 6. They need to be harder to play against in that top 6. So I'm going to make a bold statement and say Nylander for Tom Wilson. But to get to Kevin's question, if this happened in Vancouver, I'm going to say it's probably going to be the same way that media was talking prior to Game 7 in 2011, that if something like that happened, they lost to Chicago for a 3rd time in a row in 4 years, that they were going to blow up the entire franchise, that team was going to be rebuilt. Like as much as people in Vancouver like to make fun of Toronto, and it's probably just due to the overexposure of Toronto media nationwide.
Yes,
but Vancouver fans and Vancouver media are just as hyperbolic as Toronto, if not worse. And I really would not be surprised if that happened in Vancouver, that the fan base and media as well would be blow up the team. That this isn't working, blow up the team.
Yeah, I think if you took this trajectory here with the Leafs over the past few years, and with Sheldon Keefe, there was the play-in against Columbus and falling short there, and then last year blowing the 3-1 lead with Montreal, and now this. No, I think if that happened with the Canucks and it's in Vancouver there, I think that there's at least a coaching change or something. It would be a sky is falling feeling around the team. I don't think it would be what we saw today.
Well, I think because I think what we're talking about is a more trying to take the emotion out of the decision making process from the franchise, and I just look at I do think that there is a little bit of that in Toronto right now. I mean, you think Canucks fans have been divided over the past couple of years. I'm pretty sure you're seeing that in Toronto fandom right now too.
Yeah.
And yeah, I look at all that, and I do think some changes are needed, but I don't think it's in the front office, and I don't think it's on on the coaching staff at this point.
Very, very different circumstances as far as ownership influence on changing a direction after something like this, right? Like MLSE is majority owned by a couple of telecoms, and with the Canucks, it's the Aquilini family, and the emotion does, that's going to be different between the two, right? There does come a point where the Aquilini start getting antsy and impatient, and then pull the trigger on some moves where, there isn't that same impetus with the arrangement with MLSE. Like I say, unless it's Larry Tannenbaum that shows up there slamming his fist on the desk with Brendan and saying, "Do something." There isn't going to be something from the top there. I don't think.
The one conspiracy theory that I as I wear a hat, sometimes it has some tinfoil on it, but just to blend this in with the Battle of Alberta, I wonder if this outdraws what the Leafs have been drawing for the two networks. Do you wonder if that impacts some things? And I gotta say, I have a hunch that there's some. I mean, we're talking a little bit of Leafs here, but I think that there is starting to get some Leaf fatigue in general media. I think that's happening. But the one thing I don't think the Leafs leadership wants to be absolutely front and center in this nation, and if they are not, if the Battle of Alberta outdraws them, you got to wonder I wonder if that signifies something there.
I can't see that happening though.
Even if they do, I don't think it matters.
Yeah.
Because if it was if the Leafs made the second round and you had the Battle of Alberta on the other side, they would still outdraw them.
They would outdraw the Game 7. Do you think they would outdraw Game 7 of the Battle of Alberta?
Yes,
probably just due to population base.
Yeah,
I have a hard time believing that even two Alberta teams outdrawing a Leafs versus. Yeah, I don't know about that one. I'll tell you this. Now, I've been to Ontario a few times. The longest period of time I was there was for 6 weeks in 2007 when I was interning at TSN, and so they're long enough to kind of get a feeling for how and picking the brains of people that are into sports and what they're, just what they think of things going on outside of Toronto. And I think it's different there. They're more just kind of concerned with themselves, and their teams, and as far as Toronto versus, like in Vancouver and with it, out here in Western Canada, there's a bit of a complex of our cities and our people versus Toronto and their teams and the people there. Whereas in Toronto, I think the complex is with American markets, not the other Canadian markets. So I wouldn't make much of that, Kev.
It's just something that I was thinking a little bit about, because money does talk,
money does talk, but the Leafs still print money.
Yeah.
They are,
and I mean, they in this series, post pandemic and everybody coming back and everything. I mean, the building was rocking in all their home games there.
Oh, it was,
obviously by the end of Game 7, it wasn't, but I mean, Game 1 was just I was like, wow, this is so much different than a typical Leafs game we get to see on TV, where it's more of a corporate crowd. I mean, it was pretty bumping there at Scotiabank Arena, and are people going to suddenly start bailing on their season tickets after this? No.
Oh.
So financially, there'd be negligible impact from this, if any. I mean, it's probably there's going to be just as many believers again next year.
I get where the thought was coming from, but yeah, I agree with both Tyler and Sean in the sense that even if they did outdraw the Maple Leafs, I just don't see any changes happening because of that as a result.
Yeah. I mean, there are other places, and in Vancouver, and we've talked about this on the podcast before, where there can be a consumer confidence issue, and there can be a softening of the fan interest and noticeable empty seats in the building. I mean, it's a much different thing in Toronto.
Yeah, but the other part with the Leafs too is some love watch the Leafs because they're Leaf fans, but there's a lot that hate watch the Leafs because they hate the Leafs and just they want them to lose too. That's the other part of that,
How many views did Steve Dangle get on his post game of Game 7?
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, and
I haven't looked at the numbers, but I imagine it's at least 6 digits, if not 7.
Yeah, 10,000 times more than us. We'll say that. God bless him. Yeah, that's we wanted to. The other one I wanted to just quickly touch on here, and it's good to have Tyler on, and I know that there's the helmet rule came into controversy in Game 7 that led to that overtime. Marcus Pettersson lost his helmet because Alexis Lafreniere took off Marcus Pettersson's helmet, and Mike Sullivan was right angry about that. Does there need to be an adjustment of some kind? Do we see an adjustment to the helmet rule?
wasn't that just a missed call?
No, it was Lafreniere.
But
off his helmet.
Yeah, I believe that's not allowed. I believe that's actually a penalty.
Like a few years ago, two years ago, maybe. I'm not sure when it came in exactly, but now it's used to be if your helmet came off, you could keep playing. Now you either have to put it back on immediately or leave the ice, which is how amateur hockey is officiated. Now, why they brought that in is really the core of the issue here. Like, what are they trying to accomplish with that rule? I mean, to me, the cynical view on it would be is it's window dressing, to look like they're doing something in the context of a concussion lawsuit. I don't think the rule really accomplishes anything tangible. So I do sympathize with Sidney Crosby and others who think it's a stupid rule, because here's something that's reared its ugly head at a bad time in a critical moment of a playoff series. And what is the benefit from it really? I mean, is it actually reducing concussions or making player safety better? I think it's hard to argue that there is a big tangible benefit there, right? But at the end of the day, the rule is the rule. It's been in place for years. The two teams are playing by the same rules, so it is what it is. Just a bad break. Bad breaks happen in sports at bad times for teams that
it was just a missed
wondering
call.
what could be.
Yeah, it was just a missed call. Lafreniere should have gotten the penalty for that.
Yeah.
Because I quickly searched it up, and on the NHL.com website, they've got the rule changes for the 1920 season, and I'm 99% sure they haven't changed.
No,
they haven't changed it. A player who intentionally removes an opponent's helmet during play shall be assessed a minor penalty for roughing.
Right, but then because the guy has his helmet off, now he's forced to leave the ice, right? Like there's the two parts of the issue there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was a tough situation, and I just wanted to bring that up. I kind of sensed that I don't know. I know that there's some people that some people have called for the rule to change. It's
how do you change it? Do you just go back to they're allowed to play without helmets?
Make it a mandatory coincidental minor where the player that had his helmet removed, I guess, still gets the penalty because he didn't put it back on right away, but then also make sure that the guy who knocked it off also goes off. I don't know. I'm not sure there's a perfect solution here.
Let's be realistic. They're not going to change anything.
Yeah, they're going to probably leave it as is. I mean,
it doesn't come up often enough for them to change it.
Yeah, I mean, there was a controversy with Braden Point and his untied chin strap too in the Toronto Tampa base.
Again, I believe if you look at the rules, he didn't break any of them. You don't have to do the chin strap up after that. If you're in the middle of play, as soon as you have the ability to, again, maybe that's the subjective part, but
you're probably more encouraged to do it back up as opposed to you must.
I mean, the thing for the Penguins here, right, is they had a 3-1 series lead, and now they're going to make an issue out of this after blowing a couple other games, right? Like,
yeah, you got to wrap it up at 3-1. You do that. I will say that.
It's easy to point at that and say, oh, well, that's why we lost.
Or
I don't know. I
mean, Crosby got injured, and
Leaf fans are doing this with a bad penalty call in Game 6, and know that they didn't have a chance in Game 5 to close it out. But they all they needed to do was get one puck into the net in the overtime, and they're moving on. So it's very easy to just point at one thing when there's a whole lot that goes on over the course of a playoff series that may have hindered your chances as well.
Yeah, they blew leads in those games too, so that's the other thing.
Yeah.
They just did, and God bless Tristan Jarry for trying for Game 7, but they didn't get the goaltending.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and just to finish off that chin strap thing, in that same article, a player on the ice whose helmet comes off during the play must exit the playing surface, or B, retrieve and replace his helmet properly on his head with or without his chin strap fastened. So, just, and yeah, I think it's when you have those plays that don't quite that are missed calls or weird calls, it's very easy. But once you step back and you take the motion out of it, you can see where things actually went wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, we can go on about this all night, but in the case of the Leafs, I mean, let's look at Game 2. I mean, you really steamrolled the Lightning in Game 1 and couldn't carry that momentum forward. Went back to Tampa with the series tied, and there was a chance to really keep the foot on the throat, so to speak, and get a 2-0 series lead and really gain some control over the series. And so, I mean, that's the thing. You can go back at different opportunities in the other games that they lost in that series and say that if that went differently, maybe they're still playing.
Well, and even Game 4, you're down 3-0 10 minutes into the first period, right? And you're up 2-1. So, you had an opportunity and you didn't do it. So that's fair.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah. So Rangers, Carolina, Tampa, Florida. I don't know where we're going on those. If you have any thoughts on who's going to win that.
Well, Tampa won tonight, but for Florida, it's. I mean, they're the President's Trophy team. There should be expectations. But they're not a marquee team. There's hardly anybody watching and paying attention, it seems like. I don't know if they make the finals. The building will be full, of course. But, it's a bit of an oddity. But those two teams put on a pretty spectacular show last year in the playoffs in the first round. This time now they're meeting in the second round. So I would have thought going into it would be a pretty competitive series. But Tampa's Tampa. You gotta beat the best to be the best, as the old adage goes. And I'm not sure Florida can do it, but I don't follow the Panthers that closely, so I don't really I don't want to be too definitive about that.
I would probably actually argue that take the counter argument there and say that this is not the same Tampa team that won their 2 Stanley Cups. That whole third line got swapped out. And yes, they've played well, and yes, they beat the Leafs in the first round. But with how much of a grind that this Florida team's been on this season, if they don't do it this season, when will they?
Yeah,
and that's kind of where I'm coming from.
Yeah, and the big thing for Florida right now is, can they find a way to score on the power play? They're 0 for 21 in these playoffs now.
Yeah.
If they can get that power play going, watch out.
Yeah.
If they had that power play going against in their first round series against Washington, that series doesn't go as long at all.
Yeah, I have Tampa winning that series. I just, it comes back to championship, just knowing how to win. They've done it before. You're right. I love that series last year. Tampa just finds ways to do it. They're not super sharp, but they seem to be finding a way to do it at the right times. They did it again tonight. They get the lead late. Belmore scores an early third period goal, and they just shut it down again. And they just seem to know how to do it. So, the Vasilevsky narrative that he was struggling, and last 3 games, 2-3 goals and less. So he might be back.
That's the thing. You can't ever bet against Vasilevsky. He's we talk about a lot of other goalies all the time, but Vasilevsky is he's a tough one to crack.
And that might be the X factor of this series is which team will get better goaltending, because we know both teams can score.
Yeah.
So we're back to writing off Florida. All right.
Yeah. Yeah, you had your one series win there. Okay, finally,
How many times were they written off in that series, though?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I'm still taking them, but I guess I'm in the minority.
That's a coin flip series for me, and I think Florida pulls it out. Especially if they can get that power play going. Watch out. Like, just they just have too many weapons on that power play for it to be continued to just be 0%.
Fair. Rangers, Carolina. That's probably the least interesting of the 4 series, but I still think it's going to be a good series. You got 2 interesting coaches, and you got Igor. Igor the goalie.
The future Vezina winner.
Yeah, he will win the Vezina. I do agree with you.
Not Darcy Kemper?
Well, no, but Igor was nominated. By the way, congratulations, Elias Lindholm nominated for the Selk that Patrice Bergeron will win this year. But I actually have the Rangers winning that because of Igor. I think no Freddie Anderson makes it tough. The Rangers certainly seem confident even when they're trailing. They've got Igor. We're fine. That's, I think, their motto. We have Igor. We're fine. And Mika Zibanejad doesn't get enough love in this league for how good he is.
That pairing of Zibanejad and I was going to say that pairing of Zibanejad and Kreider is so fucking good.
Yeah. And Adam Fox took a huge step all around. Talk about players that needed to take a step. Adam Fox did. I think they're the better team than Carolina right now. But God loves Seth Jarvis.
I'm just going to go full hunch mode guess. I like Carolina's chances. They've been pretty solid here for the last several seasons. Yes, the Rangers got a series win. I'm not sure they're ready for Final Four level of play here, but we'll see. It should be a good series as well. So certainly I think all 4 of them are really even pretty close to even matchups here.
Yeah, I'm kind of similar in regards to what Tyler just said. I personally think and want the Rangers to give Carolina fits, but ultimately I have Carolina moving on.
If Carolina had Freddie Anderson in that, and 100% Freddie Anderson in that, I think this is an easy win for Carolina. But at this point, I think I'm leaning more Rangers at this point.
There you go.
Yeah. What's the timeline on Anderson?
We don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, they're asking questions about injuries is like it's the injuries from the top of the head to the bottom of the toe, and he's day to day.
Yeah, it's a body injury.
It's a body injury. Yeah.
Yep.
And I don't know if that should change, by the way, but that's because I kind of think that there's some intrigue to that.
You like the playoff mystique?
Well, I wonder if betting becoming such a bigger thing that there may be an expectation for more transparency on that, but I don't think.
What does the NFL do? Because they just have they have like certain things that you can call players. Doubtful, probable, or out, or whatever.
Yeah. There's a whole structure in place and timelines at which you have to make declarations on your roster, and it's all mandated by the league.
Yeah,
but I don't sense the NHL has any appetite of doing it. But if they were to do it, betting would be the reason to do it. But
even if they do that, I think it would be very much. I think we would still get this.
Yeah,
especially in the playoffs.
Yeah, I can't imagine Daryl Sutter. Yeah, I imagine Daryl Sutter with betting. Yeah, with gambling now, you have to reveal injuries. I could see Daryl saying, "Shut."
You always have to ask yourself inside the game who would be making that push to make a change. Anybody?
No.
The only people making that push are people that are into betting and people in the media.
Yeah,
which is fine, but internally. I don't see anybody at a board of governors meeting making the case to change this.
Yeah,
I love the entertainment of media members constantly asking coaches about updates on their players and constantly getting shut down.
I
I find that way too hilarious.
Yeah. I mean, like it's I don't know if it falls under the category of gamesmanship per se, but it's that's what makes the playoffs more fun to follow, right? Is all that kind of stuff that goes on in between.
Oh, well, that's just back to the Battle of Alberta for one quick second. We didn't really touch on this, but Edmonton Media meeting Daryl Sutter is going to be also very fun. Jim Matheson meet Daryl Sutter. I mean, they know each other.
Daryl, why
you got Eric Francis and the Edmonton guys. That should be something.
Yeah.
There's going to be more sniping between media members than there will be the average fan, probably. I think the fans will get along better than the media will.
Oh, the Oiler fans are going to rail on Eric Francis. Flame fans are going to rail on Mark Spector and Jason Gregor. Oh, anyway. The one other thing is Barry Trotz. Barry Trotz let go by the New York Islanders. Barry Trotz had an interview with John Yee's Winnipeg Jets today. Pete DeBoer was...
Yes.
According to Elliot Friedman, yes.
I got to give him the credit for that scoop there.
Yeah. And then Pete DeBoer let go of Vegas. I think a lot of people were calling Barry Trotz to Vegas. Do we see Barry? Where do we see Mr. Trotz going?
Yeah, that's a tough one there. He can go anywhere he wants, right? Maybe he is up for the challenge of a Canadian team. It's something he hasn't done yet. I don't know. He's had success in all the other places he's been: Nashville, Washington, and the New York Islanders. And yeah, maybe he is ready for something there. I don't know.
I'll give the edge to Winnipeg just because he's a Manitoba boy, but I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up in Philly or Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're him and you're looking for some security, like Vegas,
not Vegas,
haven't really exemplified stability in the head coaching position. So
stability and job security at all.
Yeah.
For anybody. Yeah. So
and they're probably going to be making. They have to get cap compliant this offseason. So there are players who are not going. There's going to be players that were good for them this year that are not going to be there.
And then I guess if you're him, which team do you think is closer to hoisting the trophy? I mean, I don't know. Vegas seems to be at this moment going the wrong direction. Winnipeg took a step back this year, but maybe not as much of a step back. You might argue. I don't know.
And yeah, Philly's not in great spot either.
Philly's even worse.
Well, yeah.
If you're looking at it that way, I think if with the right moves, I think Winnipeg's got a better shot of the three. I have more confidence in Hellebuyck coming back to his level than Leonard. I have more confidence in Shovel Day Off to make the moves needed than I would have with the Vegas management team. So, and Philly's just Philly is in go mode when they shouldn't be in go mode. Philly is in the Vancouver Jim Benning era right now.
Ooh, good comparison.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a fair one though, I think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which is going to be hilarious when the Canucks trade with Philadelphia this offseason and get a couple good players.
I was about to say, are you still aiming for, what was it, Sanheim?
Sanheim, I think, is the right one. I saw other people talking on Twitter about maybe Provorov. If I'm Alvin and Jim Rutherford, I'm looking at the guy I'm eyeing on that blue line is Travis Sanheim. Because there's talk that they want to move OEL to the right side. That's like you should still have that conversation about moving Quinn Hughes to the right side. You move one of them to the right side going into next season, and if you can find a way to make it if somehow you can find a way to move Myers and out of that right side, and you can bring in Sanheim to solidify that left side that one of those guys has left. Like that's huge, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Canucks and Philly do match up as trade partners.
Yeah. I want to get to the Canucks in 1 second. I just want to chime in on something with Barry Trotz. I have a dark horse, and it's Dallas. If Rook Bonus is gone, and there's talk that he could be, that Dallas team is if I was to put Dallas and Vegas, who's closer? Dallas is definitely closer to me. You got Jake Ottinger, you've got Miro Heiskanen, who is a top flight defenseman right now, top 10 defenseman in this league. You got Rupe Hintz, Jason Robertson. That's not a terrible team in Dallas. Wouldn't be surprised. I'm not picking Barry Trotz in Dallas.
That's one of those ones that I'm not sure. What's the reason to moving on from Rick Bowness?
His contract's up.
Yeah, and will he want to come back?
That's the question.
Okay.
There would be uncertainty.
What's that?
I think he's approaching 70, so like he might be considering retirement.
Yeah,
if he doesn't want to come back, then yes. But I don't. At this point, I think it's more roster construction and depth than anything else up for that's holding them back as opposed to coaching.
Yeah, no. Like, let me be clear. If Rick Bowness, like for me, if I'm Dallas, you bring back Rick Bowness for sure. But if he doesn't want to come back, that would be a place I wouldn't be surprised they look at Barry Trotz there.
It was interesting at the end of the Flames game on Sunday. Greg Millen went out of his way to note how this could potentially be the end for Rick Bowness, and I don't think that's just pulled out of thin air. He may have some hunch there that Rick's given retirement some serious thought. When I heard that, I don't, like I say, I don't think that was just set off the cuff. I think there might be something to that. So yeah, there's definitely uncertainty with Dallas and their coaching for next season.
And I can't remember where I read it, but I definitely remember reading somewhere that regardless of his position as an associate or head coach, he has over 2,500 games behind the bench in the NHL.
Yeah.
So that he's spent a decent amount of time at the top league. So
he's given his life to this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he's got one of the best Reggie Dunlop coats out there.
yes. Yeah.
And he brought back the quote, "It's a great day for hockey."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Great Bob Johnson.
Just a quick update in the Blues and Avs game. Colorado is up 2-1 now, heading towards the end of the second period. Valerie Nichushkin and Sam Girard with the goals there.
Yeah.
Hey, Colorado's pretty much dominating the play for the most part.
Yeah. I guess the only other Canucks thing that we need to talk about is it was official.
Bruce, it is.
Yeah, so I want to play what Devin had to say earlier today, just to get his and get your take here. So here we go. This is Devin earlier today when we were doing a Battle of Alberta preview.
Nothing's playing.
This is just
awkward silence.
I didn't. I forgot to hit. Did I hit share?
No.
Nope.
Oh, okay. Okay, hang on.
An execution, man.
Yeah, I'm the Rick Dolly.
You set it up so well, and you wasted it.
Yeah. Okay. Let me go here. Let me go here. I'm just gonna hit this back just a little bit. Sorry about that, everyone.
Our Canadian Screen Award is out of the.
Yeah.
There goes our Gemini.
Yeah, there it goes. Go to Steve Dangle. Steve Dangle's go better than us. Let's see if I got this. Okay, hang on. This is awesome. Anyway, maybe I will not do that. But basically,
no, you gotta try now.
No, I want to hear what Devin has to say.
You can't leave everybody hanging. You're leaving us.
I got the whole squiggly.
Jeremiah and. We got the Dylan, we got the whole crew here. Like, wow, Kev is right. No kidding.
Yeah, I suck. I know. Okay, we're getting
Heidi in here to save this.
Yeah, Heidi. Yeah, I'm getting the squiggly thing. That's the problem here. I'm just here. Let me just quickly refresh. Sorry about that, Jeremiah, Dylan, and everyone in the chat. I am lousy at the producer thing. Yeah, for sure. Let's see what we're getting here. Hang on. Oh, no. Great. Okay.
This is an
Come on, Kev, find it. You can do it. I believe in you.
I had it all set up, too. I did. I nailed it down. I'm so sorry. Okay, let me go. It's about here. There we go. Hang on.
Like, that's a big scapegoat if things don't go well.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing, but I see where you're coming from. Okay, I'll go back to Go back here a little bit. There we go.
That's not, I have a feeling that's the end of it.
Like what type? You talk about setting a culture. You talk about making sure that you have a direction. I'm sorry, like you're Patrick Alvin. Yep, I think you dropped the ball on this one. You did it right with bringing him back, but holy shit, you got to be. I think that's a massive mistake. I really.
What was the mistake?
Brett. Oh, I forget it. I booed this. I
what was the mistake he's referring
to? The mistake was bring back Bruce Boudreau. They did not give him the extension. Is his concern?
Okay, so yeah, he said that it was the right decision to bring Bruce back, but they botched how they brought him back. Is what Devin said. Okay.
I'm so sorry for the botch, guys. I really am. I'm totally sorry about that.
It's okay.
There's a lot of just presumptions being made about how they're getting along and this and that. I mean, it's odd, but the whole thing is odd going back to when the previous coach was dismissed and the previous general manager was dismissed. You had the coach being brought in before the management group and even before Jim Rutherford was here, and so it's all very odd. But at the end of the day, if Bruce wants to be here and the organization wants him to coach next season, what's the problem?
He signed a contract, and I think that the contract got more play than it should have.
Yeah.
And yeah, he this isn't the first time he's done that. Alvin and Rutherford have done this. They did this with Mike Sullivan after bringing him, and he won a fucking cup.
Yeah. To me, the way I look at it is there isn't a coach that has true security in the National Hockey League anymore. So it really is a year-to-year job. Like there's probably maybe two that I would say, yeah, I know that they're going to be fine. Like maybe two right now. You look at other leagues, that's not the same. It's a year-to-year job in the National Hockey League.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry I botched that. I had a wonderful
you're really feeling the heat.
I'm feeling the heat. Yeah.
It's okay, Kevin. It happens. It happens. I will vouch for Kevin. He had it all lined up. He tested it with me before we started.
Yes.
And then something went wrong.
Just like my hotel internet at the start here, his internet failed him.
Yeah.
Like I say, live TV is a real tightrope sometimes.
Where's the Bill O'Reilly GIF when you need it?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, we may have a song as we play out here, but we'll leave it here. Reminder: we're back tomorrow Thursday to recap Game 1, Battle of Alberta, LFG. That's Let's Fucking Go for those who don't speak LFG. But how do we follow everyone?
I am BeardedConnect03 on Twitter.
And I'm on Twitter at TNoble, TNOBLE.
I am at Schneids on most social media.
Devin, who you heard in that chat, you're GordHowe09. Give him a follow, and if you're in Calgary, check out Amped Advantage, and give them some love there. Sean, what's that hat you're wearing?
Yeah, that hat is Lodgepole Kind. He's the artist that does our intro music at the beginning. Give him a follow on Twitter and Spotify.
Yeah. I am KEVWLE. You, of course, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. Subscribe wherever you get your audio, as well as on the Area 51 Sports Network. It's here. It's happening.
Oilers suck. Oilers suck. Oilers suck. Oilers suck. Oh yeah. David sucks. Oilers suck. Oilers suck. Wait for it. McDavid sucks. Here we go. Try.